Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The battle for five-star quarterback Jared Curtis continues to wage on between Kirby Smart in Georgia, Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks. And one of the things that kind of jumped out to me as I was getting ready for this episode is the amount of times that Georgia and Oregon are going to battle on the recruiting trail. I mean, you're talking about two of the programs that are at the top of the sport, especially when it comes to talent acquisition. Kirby Smart and Dan Lanning, it seems like over the last couple of cycles, if you are a five-star prospect anywhere across the country, chances are you are considering Oregon, you are considering Georgia, and chances are Georgia and Oregon are sitting at the top of the boards for a lot of these top prospects. We seeing it play out with Jared Curtis. Now, you get into Jared Curtis as the football player. We've talked extensively about this kid. In my opinion, I don't know if there is a better quarterback in the 2026 cycle. He is what you call a box checker at the position. 6'4", 225, ideal quarterback frame with a massive arm that this kid can make just about any throw that you want him to make on the football field. And there's just not a lot of quarterbacks that you see not only in this 2026 cycle, but coming out of high school in general that check the amount of boxes that Jared Curtis does. And I think my favorite aspect about his game is, how good of a playmaker he is at the quarterback position. 6'4", 225. He ain't no Lamar Jackson in terms of getting out of trouble, but he's a guy that is extremely hard to bring down for defensive linemen in the pocket, does a really good job extending plays, throwing off platform. He's what you call a gamer at the quarterback position. And he gets the job done from a lot of different ways. And when you couple, elite talent, box checking talent with that, gamer mentality that Jared Curtis brings to the table, that's why you're looking at, in my opinion, the best quarterback in this 2026 cycle. Now, want to get into how this recruitment is kind of shaking out here, the reasons that Georgia fans should be optimistic, the reasons that Oregon fans should be optimistic. I don't think anybody knows where Jared Curtis is going. I certainly don't. I don't even know if Jared Curtis has his mind made up. I mean, he set a commitment date for May 5th, so there's probably some things that he's still, kind of mulling over in this decision. Before we get into it, as always, to the Oregon, Georgia fans, it's going to be fun for both of these programs on the recruiting trail, not only for Jared Curtis, but these are two programs that are picking up some real momentum for a lot of other prospects across the country. A lot of commitments to break down, a lot of visit weekends to break down. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I want to start with this. My general thoughts on the recruitment, and this is, Jared Curtis to me, number one quarterback in this 2026 cycle. With that being said, obviously Georgia and Oregon want this kid really bad. I know a lot of Georgia and Oregon fans that want this kid really bad, and rightfully so. But my take on this recruitment is Georgia and Oregon sit so well with their quarterback boards in 2026. And so if you miss on a guy like Jared Curtis, both Georgia and Oregon fans should feel pretty confident about where they are going at this position. Right at Georgia, I mean, you're looking at Bo Bentley, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite quarterbacks in the 2026 class. Landon Duckworth, another guy that Georgia is picking up some momentum with. Then you look at Oregon. You got five-star quarterback Ryder Lyons in your back pocket as well. Both of these programs seemingly want Jared Curtis. He's at the top of the quarterback board for not only in Oregon and Georgia, but probably the top of the board for a lot of these programs across the country. But both of these teams, in classic Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning fashion, have put themselves in good spots for a lot of the top quarterbacks in this 2026 class. Now, looking at Georgia first, and this seems to be the team that it's gone back and forth for really the last 6 months, right? Jared Curtis was, at one point committed to Georgia, and then Oregon kind of had a lot of momentum. That momentum might be going back to Georgia a little bit. And I think the reasons to be optimistic about Jared Curtis, if you're a Georgia fan, is one, proximity. I mean, Kirby Smart, when he wants these high caliber guys from this region of the country, he does not miss on a lot of these guys. And so the proximity from Nashville, Tennessee to Athens, Georgia versus Eugene, Oregon, that is certainly a reason for Georgia fans to be optimistic about this recruitment. I think that the second thing is you see Georgia really building some pass catchers around this offense. And if there was one reason to kind of knock Georgia in this recruitment, it's, hey, are you going to have the playmakers around you to have success? It was a problem in the 2024 season. I don't need to tell Georgia fans that. Talk about Tylen Taylor, talk about CJ Wiley. There is a lot of buzz for Georgia in the pass catcher department that I think would make Georgia's offense pretty dang exciting for a guy like Jerry Curtis. Now you switch it to Oregon, and I think it also starts with the playmakers around you. You know, DeCorian Moore, Cooper Perry in the 2025 class coming in. Then you look at 2026 and all the wide receivers that Oregon is really trending for. Both of these programs, wherever Jerry Curtis goes, he's going to have the playmakers around him. Now, if you're an Oregon fan, the thing that I think you are selling the most is the success in terms of developing quarterbacks that Will Stein has had at Oregon. You look at Bo Nix, then you look at Dylan Gabriel. This is a program that has suddenly become a destination place for top quarterbacks because of the offense and quarterback development that we've seen from Oregon over the last couple of years. And then you look at Georgia and say, there's not a ton of confidence with Mike Bobo and his future in Athens, especially within the Georgia fan base. And I wouldn't be surprised if that rubs off on a guy like Jared Curtis. I think, secondly, you look at Montgomery Van Gorder. This is kind of a deep cut, but I think the Georgia fans who follow this program closely know he was a guy that was kind of leading the charge with recruiting some of these top quarterbacks. He's going to the Philadelphia Eagles at the NFL level. I mean, does that give Oregon a little bit more of an opportunity to get into this recruitment? We'll probably find out over the next couple of weeks and months. Both programs, to me, are places where Jared Curtis immediately becomes the guy. And it's not a knock on a guy like Ryan Montgomery. And it's not a knock on a guy like Achilles Smith for Oregon, like two talented quarterbacks in 2025 that I think both Georgia and Oregon fans are optimistic about. But neither of these programs has a quarterback that's young, that's like the future of this offense. And I think wherever Jerry Curtis ends up committing to, he immediately becomes the guy where, that's our future plan for the next couple of years at the quarterback position. Yeah, this is going to be extremely tight. Again, what I want to stress here is both of these programs are going to push their chips in for Jared Curtis. And you can talk about NIL. I think both Georgia and Oregon are going to be very competitive on that front. I think the closing remark I would want to have is if Georgia misses or Oregon misses on Jared Curtis, I don't think it's reason to panic for either of these programs because that quarterback board that both of these programs have built, Oregon with Ryder Lyons and Georgia with Bo Bentley or a guy like Landon Duckworth, I got a lot of confidence that the quarterback play for both of these programs is going to be in a good spot regardless if Jerry Curtis commits to either of these two teams. We'll see how it plays out. Going to be really fun to track over the next couple of, we got about 5 weeks until the commitment. Probably going to be some more storylines to talk about. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.